I just finished reading The Worst Hard Time, my final book of 2024. So let's talk about it. Let's do a mini review. I absolutely recommend this book. It's so good. It's nonfiction. It's about the Dust Bowl, which happened during the Great Depression, just a time of unimaginable suffering in the Great Plains. This is my second book now I've read by Timothy Egan, and he's now easily one of my favorite nonfiction writers. I also read A Fever in the Heartland by him at the start of the year, which is about the Ku Klux Klan. Highly recommend that one as well. He writes such engaging nonfiction. It's so compelling. You are absorbed in the story the whole time because he's not just telling you interesting things about the time period and the events, but he follows real people who lived it. So you're invested in the individual people as well. I learned so much reading this book. It's one of those books that while reading it, you want to turn to the person next to you every 5 minutes and be like, did you know this? Did you know this? My husband's probably annoyed at me, but we both learned a lot. I learned a lot about the Dust Bowl itself, but also all the events leading up to it. The whole first 25% of this book is leading up to the Dust Bowl. So you're learning about the history of the land and I don't want to give anything away, but you're learning about all the things that led up to it. Also learned a bunch just about FDR's presidency towards the end of the book. It was so interesting. When I shared on Instagram that I was reading this book, I got asked by a couple people if it was as relentlessly depressing as Kristen Hanna's historical fiction book on the Dust Bowl, The Four Winds. And yes and no. Any book about the Dust Bowl is going to be depressing. It was just an awful time, especially reading about the kids and the animals going through it. It's brutal. It's brutal reading about it. But with The Four Winds, you also had that added Kristen Hanna layer of the main character's ugly and her husband doesn't want to sleep with her and her daughter hates her. So it's not like that. I personally didn't love The Four Winds. I am a Kristen Hanna fan, but that one's not a favorite of mine of hers, which I get is besides the point. But if you have read The Four Winds, it won't feel redundant to read this one, and I still definitely recommend it. The Four Winds goes into a lot of the migration that happened of workers fleeing the Dust Bowl and trying to find work in California. This book does not go over that as much, but in this book you get so much more information on the cause of the Dust Bowl and the lead up to it. So I'm freezing. I'm going to go inside and wrap this up, but yes, absolutely recommend this book.